You ever walk down the street and you see people wearing this "I voted" sticker and you think to yourself, what? You voted on what? What did I miss? Well, here's what you've missed, but you're not too late to get in on it. In July, Texas legislature voted to pass a bill that would reduce our property taxes. This Tuesday, November the 7th, you get to vote to approve the amendment to the Constitution that would allow an increase in our homestead exemption by $100,000. Currently it's at $40,000, so that's a big difference. Now we're proposing, or we get to vote on, an increase of $100,000. So this is what this means to you. Let's say your home is valued at $500,000. You're being taxed on that value. Currently, you're going to be taxed at $460,000 because the exemption is at $40,000. Now they're proposing $100,000 homestead exemption. So that $500,000, now you're going to be taxed on the amount of $400,000. So that is a significant difference. And in this video, I'm going to share with you so you can look and see exactly what that $100,000 looks like on your tax bill. So that's great, the reduction, right? Well, there are 5 things that this is going to affect on November the 7th when you vote. It's going to affect, one thing, we can vote on our appraisal district officials. Now they're appointed, so that gives us a little bit more control. If you own a business, franchise tax is part of it. That's going to be, something to vote on, to consider some kind of relief there. If you own properties that aren't your homestead, where there's going to be a maximum of appraisal there, so that's going to affect, your amount that you're paying taxes on that. And then what I really wanted to hone on is your personal property, your homestead exemption, and how this may impact schools. As a realtor, both are important. Resale, they're both extremely important. So let's break it down. So with this great $100,000 reduction, so look, if you looked at your appraisal district, you pull up your property and you see the breakdown of the different entities. You see the hospital, you see schools, you see utilities, PIDs, MUDs, whatever you see, you're going to notice that probably the schools is receiving the greatest amount of your taxes when you look at the portions and the breakdown. Well, if we reduce our property taxes, with school being probably the greatest entity receiving some of those funds, that could impact our schools, the M&O, the maintenance, and the occupation, teachers, people who receive salaries there. Now, I am not going to get in the weeds with you. This is not a political broadcast. I just know that people want to know what's going on, and this has become a real hot topic, and I want to make sure you are informed. So I want to encourage you to do your own research on how this benefits and impacts you, the schools, everyone involved. Now, what I want to do right now is show you the numbers and show you what amount you could expect to decrease in your property tax if this passes. Let's take a look. Well, let's get to it. When you go to the appraisal district, you're going to look for your tax estimator. I happen to be on taxonline.tarrantcounty.com. I'll leave this in the comment section, but whatever your county is, you'll see something similar to this. And they're going to ask you a few questions. Easy peasy, plug and play. You know your county, you know your city, you know your school district. But if you are in a PID or MUD, you want to make sure you put the right code in there because it could affect the calculations. Also, it's going to ask you about the value of your property. That's not the market value, that's the appraised value, because your property taxes, your exemptions, all of that is based on the appraised value. And once you plug all that in, of course, you want to get the calculations for the homestead. Hit submit. This is a screen that's going to show you the breakdown, and you'll be able to see, hey, which part of my taxes is going where. The one thing I want to point out is the exemption column. If you go down to the bottom, you will see that you already have that $100,000 exemption applied. Chances are it's already applied. If not, it's going to revert back to $40,000 if this does not pass on November 7th, because currently the exemption amount is $40,000. The other thing that I want to point out is your tax rate. So if you scroll down and you find your school district, chances are that's going to be the highest tax rate. So the schools is receiving the bulk of your tax money. And I want to show you that so you can just get familiar with it if you've not taken the time to look at it. Now let's go over some simple math so you can see what you are going to gain if this passes November the 2nd. Remember at the beginning of the video, we used an example of a $500,000 value for a home. So let's just do the math on that. We're going to do a quick demonstration so it all makes sense to you. We're going to bring it all home. Let's say, for example, the home is valued, this is not the market rate, but it's valued at $500,000. Well, currently we have a $40,000 homestead exemption. So when you do the math on that, 500,000 minus 40, now we're at a $460,000. Now let's hop over and do the same thing with the proposed, the new, if we voted in, homestead exemption. So a $500,000 home minus $100,000. Now we're at $400,000. So we can see a $60,000 difference. So what does that mean to you? Now, let's say, for example, the tax rate for the school district is 1%. Well, if that's the case, now your $460,000 home times 1%, the tax value that's going to the school district, that tax rate, that total amount is now $4,600 versus $4,000 if the bill passes, if we vote for the changes November the 7th. So you can see a $600 difference. Now you may not feel that difference very much if you have your taxes escrowed, because it's going to feel like a little bite size of discounts. But if you pay your taxes all at once at the beginning of the year, then you will feel that difference. You'll see it differently. But $600 is $600. Oh, and two more things. If you're 65 or over, or if you're disabled, you get an additional $10,000 homestead exemption. You can't double up. If you're disabled and 65, you're not getting $20,000. You just have to pick one. And if you're over 65 or over, your appraised value will freeze. So I guess that's a good thing. That's one of the beauties of being 65 plus. So hopefully now you realize, hey, what's going on? What are people voting for? And wait, I get a chance to vote November the 7th? Absolutely, you sure do. And I just wanted to expose you to some of the things that are going on, some things that are proposed, so you'll be a little bit more informed. Again, I highly encourage you to do your own research, because I don't want to turn this into a political debate about the schools and tax, any of that. I just want to present the facts to you, and something tells me you're successful enough, intelligent enough to make your own informed decision.